Question.
So Krishnamurti talks about this like all thoughts are movement from past to future. Like I was thinking, can there ever be thoughts other ways, in other ways, like past to past, future to past? And he also says that we need to like stop thinking about these movement from past to future. Am I clear? Or I don't
No, but that's okay. I can still work with it because
know. Okay.
Krishnamurti is not clear. So let's talk about Krishnamurti. He's a very interesting guy. So at a very young age, he was basically abducted, uh, and then his brother, right, to keep him company,
Yeah.
by these British theosophists who decided he was going to be their next, the next master, the next, guru of the world, and they had a whole idea about how they were going to convert the world to their theosophy. And so Krishnamurti was educated largely in Britain, and he received a good education, but it was a little bit slanted, shall we say. And from the very beginning, he was marked out as special. And a large church formed around him, a church of theosophy. And then and then all the things that go along with churches, right? Infighting, politics, religion, money, corruption here and there, and every kind of person gets involved. But the whole thing was they were looking for a savior. And Krishnamurti knew, even as a native Indian, he knew that you can't be saved by someone else, right? Although some people in India believe that if they just get close enough to the guru, that they'll get enlightened, right? A very unfortunate uh,
Yeah.
belief, but not dissimilar in structure from the use of priests or that stand between a person and truth in, say, the Catholic Church. So at any rate, I forgot what precipitated, but I think it may have been the death. Yeah, the death of his brother sent this guy into. Oh, I mean, he loved his brother more than anything. It was all he had of his own, right? In
Yeah.
Britain. And so when he died, just put Krishnamurti into a deep, deep, deep funk. And it's out of that funk that he probably woke up. I think that's when he did wake up, because it just devastated him, devastated his ego and his heart, right? And then he looks around and he sees all these thousands and tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people around the world, and they're all looking to him like, oh, guru, oh, master, you're so enlightened, all this and that. And to his credit, he said, to hell with this. And right in the middle of everything, and they were making lots of money. They were more and more famous and influential. There were articles about them in periodicals around the world. Da 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 da. He said, I'm out of here. So because that's not truth that is not arrived to by that method through another person. And so he decided to teach, but he was surrounded by all kinds of half-wits, dim-wits, mountebanks, ambitious people, all kinds of craziness, right? And I don't know, I can't read his mind, and you can't tell from his books, which he didn't write, most of them. He wrote very, very, very little, and mainly he wrote about nature, walking around in the woods of Ojai. But he said, I'm not gonna play that game. And so he didn't want to be anybody's teachers except, a few people like David Bohm, and that's a great series, by the way, Krishnamurti and David Bohm. And so what he did was he just gave lectures to larger groups, and he wasn't particularly concerned with helping people along. He was more describing what's at the end, right? The fruit of the path or whatever. And, absolute freedom, total freedom, beyond what was it called? The first and last freedom. I don't think that's something he ever said, but it made a nice, catchy title, and things like that. And so when he spoke, it's very difficult for someone starting out, because he's speaking to people as if they've already understood, they've already experienced the timeless state, or the state beyond time. And that state, this is getting to your question, that state is beyond thought as well. So there's no time, there's no thought, there's no self, there's just beauty, truth, love. But I mean, you could, the names of God are endless. The Almighty, that's an interesting way to put it, because that's very accurate, by the way. The mighty all. And so that's what he's pointing to by describing it. Now let's go back to your question. Ask your question, and now let's take a look at it.
So my question was, whatever thoughts we think, are they always from the past to future? Like, can there be any other direction of the thoughts?
Can you take a step from the past from the future into the past? Can you take a breath from the future into the past?
No. So
can anything?
We can't do anything from the future.
Correct, and that includes thought.
But what about past? From past to the past.
He's speaking allegorically, I'm sure, but let's think about that. Can you think a thought in the past?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, I was in US for 2 years.
That's a thought about the past. This is very, very important distinction.
Yes. Then you can only have thoughts in the present. Then you cannot.
You can't even have them in the present. You can't even have them in the present. Really, if you're really in the present, there's no thought. But okay, but as a manner of speaking, you can't have thoughts in the past, and you can't have thoughts in the future. And you can play around with that all you want. You can tell you all kinds of beautiful things about the past, the future, the past, all that, so on and so forth. But it means nothing, because the only thought you can have is an immediate. I mean, you think you're having them in the present, but they're already past by the time you've finished the thought. It's kind of funny, really.
Yeah, that goes to the question about what is simultaneity and present. What's the current now? It keeps changing whenever I try to observe it.
That's correct. How long is the present?
Infinitesimally small, so small that we can't.
Well, do you know the Planck? Do you know the Planck duration?
I remember hearing it, but I don't know. Is it the shortest duration one our human instruments can measure?
It's the human one, the shortest one that I think we can conceive in principle. I don't think we can measure it. You don't have a device to look things up, do you, offhand? Do you have like something you could? Do you have a Google or somebody you can? Hey Google, how long is a Planck length in time?
5.4x10 less than sub greater than less than sub greater than less than sub greater than 44 less than sub greater than seconds. On the website www.edu.au.
It's very short. It's very short, but you could fit. Hey Google, stop! You could fit an infinite number of Planck lengths, or let's say you could fit 1 trillion Planck lengths into the present and still have a lot of no, the other way around. You could fit the present, 1 trillion presents into the Planck length of time, and you can look it up later, and still have some space left over. Do you see how we imagine? We imagine this ocean, right? It's the future, and then we imagine this ocean that's the past, and then we imagine that somehow or another they meet together in the present somehow, right? It's like the Atlantic and the Pacific. They meet at in South of Tierra de Fuego, right, in South America. But time is not like that, in fact.
I was thinking about this.
Go ahead.
I was thinking, if that time is right outside myself, then whenever I measure it, I can never know what now is, because the moment I start measuring it, the now is gone.
Very good. Excellent. See, that's what we call insight. Good. Beautiful. Bravo. Woohoo. Yeah. You can't.
Okay.
No, so not only can you not measure it, you can't think about it.
Wait, why can't I think about it?
Well, try.
Because it's in the past.
Well, by the time you've thought about it, it's in the past for sure.
This is okay.
And so this is where a lot of mindfulness people go, get all woo. And this is where, I really admire Eckhart Tolle because he's helped a lot of people, and he's written good books, 2 of them. Yeah, I think it's mainly 2 that he's really written, and the others are kind of like spin-offs. But he talks about being in the present, but you can't be in the present. And that's kind of the trick at the end of that's the punchline at the end of the book, or not at the end of the book, but at the end of the process, you realize that you can't be in the present.
It's all weird because then where are we living?
Now, okay.
Describe it.
Go slow down, because each of these questions is beautiful, right? Where are we living? Ask it again, please.
Yeah. So if we can't define what present is,
Well, wait,
where
who
are
said
we
that? Who said that? Who said we can't define what present is?
my mind.
Okay, fair enough. Let's ask questions, or if you're going to make a statement, make the statement, and then ask yourself, well, where did I hear that, or where did I learn that, or something.
I learned that from Eckhart Tolle that we need to live in present to do these things. But
And so that's a manner of speaking, okay? You cannot live in the present. That's the whole point.
yet I need to live in the present.
It's more like you need to become the present. See, because you are a thought, right? The notion of self, okay, I'm a body and a mind that somehow melted together, and it all fits in my skull or in my skin bag or whatever, and I have a name, and I was born, I'm going to die, and all that other stuff. Those are all concepts in your mind. But you are not a concept, and you are not a thought. You are the reality itself. That's the whole point of this. And then once you see that you are this reality, the only reality, then it's not unreasonable to say that's the final freedom. I mean, that's freedom. It's the only freedom. Forget first and last. It's the only freedom. Otherwise, we live lives of servitude.
I have this question. So, the me that I define, is it something that I think I am through my mind?
Yeah. See that? Do you consider yourself
Then
Indian?
it will never be accurate because my mind can never be accurate.
Bravo. Yes. Exactly. Very good.
So all the labels, like I can keep saying I am angry, I am lonely, but those are just emotions. I can keep
Those are just
labeling them
yeah.
because my mind wants to label them. But it is what it is.
Well, it's more than that. It's all there is. It's all there ever will be.
I don't. It's like defining what a river is. Like you can say.
How
the
about
point-
let's make it simple. Define water for me. Water. H2O.
water? Yeah, like you said, a group of molecules of H2O, the majority of it being H2O.
But does that get us any closer to water? What water is really? No, words. See, this is the part. This is the thing. Words can never be the thing. Words will always sell you short.
Yeah.
Words are at best, their fingers pointing at the moon, right?
Yeah.
At best, but and usually they're not even that. Words just confuse.
Yeah, like it reminds me that a picture speaks 1,000 words, but a picture speaks 1,000 words, something along those lines, right? And a picture itself is low resolution version of the actual reality, but
It can never be the reality.
so another question was, I think,
Okay.
regarding what.
So you have another
Krishnamurti
question?
says
Another question? Let's divide it up so we can.
Yeah.
Okay, ready? Question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Krishnamurti says a lot about observer is observed. I had arrived at two things. Like one thing that I arrived at is because everything is interconnected by the net of Indra and all. Whenever an observer is observing something, the thing that is observed is in some way still dependent on the observer. So whenever observer observes, it observes a part of itself.
Very good.
Because that is a reflection of the observer itself.
Very good.
Then, and second thing that I.
Well, wait. One thing at a time. One thing at a time. So, in that regard, go to sleep and have a dream. Okay. And then you wake up and we're talking about this. And I say to you, just as that dream was you, what else could it be, right? So is the world as we speak. It's fantastic. It's absolutely beyond words. It's amazing, but it's the truth, right? So just as so, if someone's asleep and dreaming, let's say someone is in the room with us and he's asleep and dreaming. He's dreaming of apple orchards. You and I could say to each other, he dreams of apple orchards, but they are actually him. The observer is the observed. He is the apple orchards. The apple orchards that he's dreaming are him. I mean, that's an analogy, okay? But it's a reasonable one. It's a big hint. It's like the god or gods or whatever words you want to apply, they always fall short. Truth wanted us to have a big hint. He gives us a big hint. Like, okay, dude, just in case you're confused, here's a big fat hint for you. You can go to sleep and dream worlds while you're not even awake. Dream entire worlds. And in those worlds, time's not real. Neither is space. And neither is any of the things you touch or grab or hear or smell or see. And yet they all appear real to you. But they're not, obviously, because when you wake up, they all vanish. That's exactly what happens here. You're dreaming right now.
What if all this is just a dream?
Pardon me?
What if all this is a dream and
it is a dream. Row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. I mean, kids know this. You know? It's so cool. It is so cool. You have no idea how cool it is. And so the thing, for to spend a life not waking up is to spend a life in servitude and suffering. Lots of drama, but it's all comes to nothing. Okay, second part of the question.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily a question. It was like second interpretation that I thought of was like each observer have some biases. So whenever an observer observes something, they only look out for what they want to look. Like
a man sees what he wants to see, and he disregards the rest. Keep going. Sorry, I couldn't resist that.
So so basically, we are reflecting ourselves when we judge others or see others, but I'm not sure about this
Yes, you think you're judging the others, but the others are there to teach you. You ever notice that if you don't like something about somebody, it's always something about yourself?
Yeah.
Something that you want
This
to be
might itself
different?
be the connection.
Go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, when I had my first interpretation, I said that there is interconnectedness between observed and the observer. And this is that interconnection. When like one way interconnection between the guy who is judging and the guy who is being judged.
Correct. But interconnection and the net of Indra, remember, those are crude metaphors. All right?
Yeah. Yes.
So it's not like there's an interconnection. They're the same thing. It's like the dreamer and the apple orchard. They're the same thing. And so let's say he dreams an apple orchard, but he also dreams of a crow, that's on the ground eating one of the apples that's fallen. The crow, the apple on the ground, and the apple tree and the apple orchard are all the same thing, same dream stuff, right? So we say interconnected because we're trying to get people to go step by step, and this is what's worked in Buddhism and in Hinduism and for a long time. For people to gradually begin to understand, because it's kind of a shock when you realize, wait a minute, my whole life has been is a false concept. So we take people step by step until the penny drops, and then they wake up one day and boom, that's what happens.
So I was thinking, one reason that could be because the whole world is observed through me. So that's why is everything just me, because like it reminds me of this.
You are the whole world. This is the whole point. Okay, stop for a minute. You can go ahead, right? And we'll go gradually. But just so you know, the you that you're putting in that equation is an illusion, right? But so it's not that you create the world. You are the world. I don't want to sound like a Michael Jackson song, but basically, but keep going. I'm sorry, keep going. I'm jumping ahead.
No, so basically,
because it's exciting,
man.
That
I can do is experience it. Only thing I can do is experience it. I can't think about myself, about what I could be, what could happen. I don't know. Yeah, maybe wrong there. Yeah.
So let's get to it. Get to a question though. In that, it's good. It's interesting because you're gradually see. This is what's called contemplation, right? This is exactly what contemplation is. And the reason you need to meditate is so you can do contemplation, right? And so what you just contemplate, just step it through, because this is true logically as well, right? I mean, it's amazing to read these philosophers, Hegel, Kant, all these other guys. They're right there too. Well, maybe not Kant all the way, but many others, right? So that you can get there logically, but it's kind of dry, and there's not the. Although who knows what it was like for them? They're not going to write about it.
Yeah, like I think I was referring to this Schopenhauer's quote, I believe. Every man takes the limit of his own field of vision for the limits of the world. But
yeah. Even brilliant men. Let's take Einstein, right? He's not gonna do this quantum mechanics stuff. It's too much. God doesn't play dice with the universe, right? But now quantum mechanics. I mean, good luck to you if you try and deny quantum mechanics, right? And the men who say that there can't. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I kind of get where Einstein was coming from.
Oh, sure. Well, good. Yeah.
No.
He's no slouch, obviously. That's why I use him as an example.
Yeah, like I kind of understand in the sense that probabilities that time was used to mask the complexity of this whole world. Like we still do it today.
Very,
only two
very good.
probability
See,
can
now you
just
understand
go
quantum mechanics.
on
I mean,
that.
now you understand quantum mechanics to the extent that you need to for your purposes. We're using probabilities to mask the unfathomable reality, the inconceivable extraordinariness of the reality. And we use our intellects and our math and our theories and our best minds to hide from that fact. It's absolutely amazing. We're like scared little monkeys in the woods, right? Making up stories to keep us from the truth. It's really kind of cool. It's really kind of cool.
Yeah.
Keep going. These are good questions. Keep going. This is fun.
So going ahead, yeah, like these were my only two interpretations of observer is observed. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think about it? Like, he was also talking about how subject and objects are not two different things.
Correct.
Like, is there something that I can contemplate on to know more about this? I don't know.
Yeah, it's reality. It's just right here. I mean, what else? You think I'm talking to you, but I know you. I'm talking. It's you talking to yourself. As incredible as that is, and it's me pretending to help you. As extraordinary as that is.
It's a bit hard to understand, to be honest. Like,
The mind is not going to understand it. Why would you expect an animal brain? I mean, think about it. Would you expect a dog or a chimpanzee to understand even classical mechanics?
No.
All right, so why would you expect your animal brain to be any better when it comes to the big stuff? And yet we can. And yet we can. That's the other thing. And yet we can. But it's not with our minds. It's with our essence knows essence. Truth knows truth. Right?
So, what do you mean by essence or truth? Is it like pure experiencing something or being there, being.
Experiencing truth and being truth are the same thing. Yes. Good. And see, that's why if you really press these guys, these illuminated guys or whatever, they won't even use the word experience for what they've seen. It doesn't fit in the word experience. As incredible as it sounds, consciousness does not come from the brain. It's like, and I studied the brain. I studied the mind. I spent a whole lifetime like, just trying to understand these things, right? And then it turns out it's not even there.
Yeah.
That's a shock. It's a shock. Do you think a brain could create this world? This world here? Do you think a brain could do this? This universe, this cosmos, this multiverse, this, all of the extraordinary things that we see every day. The little animalitos doing all kinds of miraculous things that we never suspected they were capable of doing. Do you think that a brain could do that? No, we're dealing with something much more than a brain. Although the brain's pretty spectacular. You got to admit. I mean, it's the most complex thing in the universe that we know of. But complexity is not the thing.
Yeah.
Which is more real, a dream of 10,000 things or a dream of one songbird? Which of those dreams is more true?
Both are
Equally
not
true.
true. Like,
Okay, or equally true. No, a songbird is true. A songbird, I'm going to say, I'm going to put it in the truth category.
I was.
Now, not the label songbird, and not the song that we necessarily hear, but there's a truth. There's truth there. It's hard to explain.
So next part was related to meditation.
Okay, give me one
I
second.
think I remember.
Question about meditation.
Yeah. So is investigative mind a quiet mind? I believe you said something about Naqshbandi meditation, where she says that it's better to make the mind search for something to make it quiet. Like, is investigation the only way to quiet them?
No, not at all. It's just one, for Westerners that are very, very, cerebral and whose minds are going all the time. They can't stop them, right? It's easier for them sometimes to have something to, and that was a pretty unique insight that she had, and I think that was good. But no. That's not the. As a matter of fact, that's not a particularly good way. That's just an easy way for cerebral people who think obsessively. By far, the best comes from ancient India. Just follow your breath. The Vedas are full of that, I think, or something is the Gita is where they talk about the royal, the royal path being just following the breath in and out as you go through your day. And then you quiet the mind, and then you can stop it.
Got it. So it was this. This one will be a bit different. My next question is: are emotions
Question.
and thoughts
Go ahead.
are emotions and thoughts independent of each other? Are emotions and thoughts independent of each other? Like, we just make the mistake that because we are feeling something, then it could be because of all these thoughts. But in reality, those are two different things.
Well, it depends on what you mean by emotion and what you mean by thought. So let's keep it simple. A dog is rested in a room, right? He's lying next to the bed, and he lolls back like this, and he looks under the bed, and there's a snake, a poisonous snake. Does the dog have an emotion, or does he have a thought when he jumps up?
It just emotion, a primordial emotion.
Okay, now let's say you're asleep in your bed, and all of a sudden you see a vampire bat swooping in on you. Do you have a thought or an emotion when you jump out of bed and grab a bat? Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to say bat. That would be bat-to-bat combat. Bat-to-bat combat. Go ahead.
So I haven't observed it clearly. I would say just emotion.
Okay.
But
all right, so that answers that question in some cases. Now, let's say you're watching a movie. You're watching, something, and you have a reaction. What was the question again? Can thought and emotion are they the same thing? See, this is a contemplation question for you. Only you can answer this for yourself, but it's easy to do. Just try to answer it. And this is key, by the way. Only you can bring yourself to truth. I can't do it for you. No one can. And the key ingredient is the sincerity. And the way you know that there's sincerity is because the man or the woman starts to search for themselves. They say, oh, well, wait a minute. There's thought and emotion. That's a great question. But the man, the woman, whoever it is that's going to arrive, they have to think, okay, well, I got to figure that out. I'm not going to believe what, some guy says. I'm not going to believe what I read in a book. Most of the stuff you read in a book is garbage. Not to mention the internet. It's really bad. It's worse than nothing. Literally worse than nothing. It's leading you in the wrong direction. But when you try and answer the question yourself, then it's like a prayer. It's really the prayer. And so the man who loves God searches for God. And the way he searches is by being sincerely saying, hey, no one's going to do this for me. I've got to do it for myself. And so that question is in that category. That you have to answer that. And so what I do here is I try and give examples how that's possible, how it's easy. It's not that hard to do. But you got to want to do it. And you got to understand that no one can do it for you. Those are the rules of this game. It's like buying a video game. You go to the store, you spend, I don't know, $150 on a great video game. And then you put it, you load it up into your computer, and then you say, well, okay, now who's going to play this for me? That doesn't make any sense. But this game of life is infinitely more important than that. It's more important than anything else in your life, by far. There's nothing that comes even close. Because if you get here, you've lived your life. You've lived a human life, an actual human life. And it's harsh to say this, and it hurts to say it. But if you don't, you've wasted your life. Now I'm speaking to you, right? Because I know you've got the capacity. So don't waste your life. Why do that? But if you do, I mean, it doesn't matter. The whole thing was just a dream anyway. But why not just like have a beautiful experience here?
Yeah, I mean, this may sound ironic, but even Krishnamurti says that, like, one should not do things because of some authority.
Never. Well, I mean, if they tell you at the point of a gun, march this way or we're going to blow your head off, maybe then you should, right? But that's relatively trivial compared to this. So if you rely on authority, so now Krishnamurti's not being cute and he's not being anti-authoritarian. What he's saying is the absolute truth, and he's saying it in a very British, upper class way, right? Which is don't obey any authority. But what he means is, don't think that you could substitute a teacher's efforts for your own. Don't think that you could read a book and get any closer to the truth. Don't rely on authority that is not you yourself, because it will not work. It will not work. That's what he's trying to teach. And if you look around, there's thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, millions of people following gurus, thinking that they're going to get something from them. And the gurus, they don't mind them thinking that, because, they make donations and they do this and that. And I don't know, some of them like power also, and money or whatever. They like, what do they like? Bentleys? Osho. That Osho character, man, he was something else. But, and so, there are people that will take advantage of others that way. But then it becomes a nightmare for the person that does that, right? And so... Yeah. But see, that's not teaching. That's not helping. And Krishnamurti, in his purity, as difficult as he is to understand, he doesn't compromise, and he says, accept no authority, and he's right. And I've told you, I don't want you to believe a word I say. And if you take my beliefs as your own, if you find one of my beliefs, right? Good luck with that. If you take one of mine as your own, then I've failed, miserably. And so name a belief of Krishnamurti's that you would want to adopt.
I don't think so.
Yeah, don't do it, because it's a contradiction and a paradox. What occurred to me was, well, in his thought about accept no authority, I like that, right? But then you realize, it's like one of those logical paradoxes, because he's the authority, right? Yeah. So no, he the more time you spend with him, right, the greater the reward, all right, the greater the productivity. All right?
Yes. Yeah. And like one last question kind of thing. Like, I've heard that only a handful of people have achieved enlightenment. And plus, about that tweet from Nisargadatta, I believe that you don't choose to become a disciple. It just happens to you. Like, it just makes
Okay, so those are two different questions. Let's do them one at a time, okay? One at a time. So let's ask the first one, and then ask the second one. When you put two questions together, it messes everything up, because help me out here, okay? So one question at a time. What's the first one?
So my first question is, I've heard that only handful of people have ever achieved enlightenment.
Where'd you hear that from?
So I think I was reading the One Teach book by Ken Wilber, where he talks to some Zen master, and Zen master says that the number of people who have achieved enlightenment are handful.
Okay, I mean, better to go to the Zen master himself. Which Zen master, right? And when did they say that? Because they were having all kinds of problems in the, it depends on which Zen master you're referring to, but they're talking about Zen enlightenment, okay? And, okay, so let me ask you, few people have achieved enlightenment. Do you mean today or in history?
In history.
Okay. How many women that achieve enlightenment do you think go out and start, flapping their mouths about it? Go out and advertise, hey, I woke up.
Honestly, yeah, that could be quite few.
They don't do it. They don't do it, man. They don't need to. And what percentage of people that have woken up are teachers or try to be teachers?
We don't know.
A small percentage, believe me. It's a small percentage. What's in it? What's in it for them, really? Okay, so that's two things. And then, so you, again, don't accept the authority. And so Wilbur is making the mistake, understandable, of assuming that this Zen master, whoever it is, it could be Suzuki in the 20th century, it could be, one of the great Japanese masters, Dojin comes to mind, a totally different time. Or you can go back before that and go to the Chan masters, the Chinese masters. And they're beating their monks over the head because, they're all sitting around and, missing life, pretending to be searching for truth in a big, huge group. But who knows if they're just loafing off. And they just like the idea of wearing the robes, and they get to like be cool, I'm a Zen guy, That stuff happens. That happened in the 15th century, 16th century. It was a problem. The state decided they were going to make everybody Buddhists or everybody Taoists, both. And the predictable thing happened. It rots right there on the vine. So don't accept Wilbur, as smart as that guy is, and some of his work's great. And Wilbur should know better than accepting the Zen master without any qualifications, right? And then you got to say, well, what does that mean, Zen enlightenment, as opposed to enlightenment, say, from the Tibetan or the Hindu tradition?
Yeah.
All right. So next, okay, good. So now the next question.
Next question is, how are Zen enlightenment different than other types of enlightenment? Like, what are other types of enlightenment in the first place?
Okay. I'll tell you the little bit that I know. In Zen, usually, the only thing they're interested in is sudden enlightenment. Right? Boom. Which comes down because it's very, very dramatic. And it's very, very marketing worthy. And so in other traditions, they wouldn't call that enlightenment at all. They'd call that waking up. That's all. But, in marketing, right? And so now you got people saying I'm enlightened when all they've done is woken up. That's not the same thing, right? So there's enlightenment inflation, okay? It used to mean something very, very extraordinary. And now it just means waking up. So now, when you say, well, what is meant by Zen enlightenment? Do you mean in the 20th century, or do you mean in the 15th or the 14th? Or do you mean in the traditions of Chan before that? Or what did the Buddha mean, right? Or what do the Hindu sages say? And so it becomes another word, right?
Yeah.
But in general, that's what's meant. These days, it's just waking up. But real enlightenment is the perfection of man. And that's what the ancient in the 2nd century, they said that's complete and perfect enlightenment. And that's the goal. That was the goal. You try and find those guys. You're not going to find them. And if you do, I don't know. Yeah, that's, you're talking Jesus, right?
Once in a century.
Well, I don't know. I'm
Unless,
speculating because Jesus was public, right?
yeah,
And it cost him his life. He didn't live as long as you have.
yeah.
Well, that's a whole different deal. But was he not trying to save people just the way the Buddha was? From their nightmare of little fears and little confusion about what this world is about?
Like, isn't that even what Eckhart and Krishnamurti were doing?
You see, this is the other thing, is that it is that impulse in some people, right? To like turn around and say, hey, you can't keep this to yourself, man. You gotta, I mean, how could you say you love somebody if you don't want them to have this or have this, if you don't want them to know this, because it's the end of their fear. It's the end of all fear. It's the end of all concerns. And so, yeah, I can understand why people, including myself, would love to be able to help if we can, right? Not that I'm any teacher or anything like that. I mean, I'm just a coach. I mean, real teachers are very rare, and they're extraordinary people. You'll know when you're in the presence of one, a real one, right? And it's rare. Okay, my friend. Anything else before we stop?
So my continuation for that just was like, it makes me fear that I may not ever achieve that, but like it seems that there is a difference being woken up and then
see that fear will block you right there. You'll ensure that you'll never wake up if you have that fear. Be a warrior, man. Be a warrior. Understand, hey, this is all my life is. Okay, I don't know. I can't tell you what to do, but I can't think of anyone who woke up thinking, well, I'm never going to wake up. That's like just like closing the door and trying to walk through it. Yeah, it's not going to happen. So just open the door. It's Jesus said, knock and you shall find. Seek and you shall find, right? It's there. It's right here. It's your birthright. It's what you are. And to shut yourself off is to guarantee yourself fear and suffering. You know? And every teacher says the same thing.
Yes.
So don't let those kinds of beliefs. That's just total. That's a very, very destructive belief. Yes, you will. The only question is, will you wake up before you die, physically? And the answer is, if you want to, you will. But yeah. Okay?
Yes.
All right, sir. Take good care. All right. Bye. You too. Ciao.